Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll try one more time. Good evening. Good evening. Much better. So I want to first off thank all the residents for coming to this. Obviously, this is something that was done because a lot of our residents had some grievances, had some questions, concerns, and of course, we're very thankful for FEMA and the SBA and Department of Homeland Security. They're here to show us some presentations and get a lot of these questions answered for us. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the mic over and let's get the information started, okay?
Normally, I don't go up on the microphone and speak, but my name is Giovanna Garcia. I am from the External Affairs Department with FEMA, and I have been assigned here to Deltona City in the Volusia County. Tonight's it's going to be a very brief meeting. We'll have key speakers here that can provide you with direct information as far as each component of how we work directly with the state, the county, and us as the supporting agency of FEMA. With that, I'm going to have our individual assistance representative come up and start the meeting.
Hi, good evening. My name is Oliver McVeigh. With the individual assistants, and I just want to kind of quickly go over some of the programs, the categories we got, and start off with, we got two sides of things. We got the housing assistance, then we have the other needs assistance. So for the housing assistance, we possibly help assist with lodging reimbursement, for home repair if you're an owner, and rental assistance. We have replacement assistance. We have TSA, transitional assistance, transitional sheltering assistance, and we have lodging reimbursement assistance. And then for the other needs assistance, we can possibly help out with the funeral assistance. We can help out with medical, dental assistance, child care assistance. We can help out with miscellaneous expenses for chainsaws, generators, things like that. We can help out with clean and sanitize, moving and storage expenses. We have personal property if it's not an SBA dependent category, meaning that their finances, it depends on that, how many dependents you have, whether you get referred to the SBA, the Small Business Administration. And then we have for transportation, we assist with transportation for your vehicle if it was damaged, and that depends on your money also for your dependents and how much money you make, your gross income and things like that, and whether you get referred to the SBA or you can be denied from the SBA and be referred back to FEMA. So possible assistance on that. And then, I want to mention a couple things. We're at this stage where there's a lot of appeals, so you can appeal as many times as necessary. If you get a denial or if you get even an approval, you can, if you don't agree with it, you can go ahead and appeal, and you can be written or typed, and it needs to be signed and send that in. Then we have the continuing rental assistance part. If you got initial rental assistance and you're in need of some continuing rental assistance, you can apply for that. And just kind of want to mention also, we are past the deadline for Hurricane Ian to register, but we're still open for Hurricane Nicole. Now there's some people who think that if they got affected by Ian and they registered for Ian and they got affected by Nicole, that they don't have to register because they're already registered with Ian. But that's not the case. If you got affected by Nicole, and you still would need to register with FEMA to get possible assistance from FEMA. And all of this, of course, has got criteria that's got to be met. Thank you.
So we want to thank you for that information. That's one thing that was actually mentioned to us, that those that registered with Ian and were impacted by Hurricane Nicole didn't know that they have to actually register with for the Hurricane Nicole. So any questions like that, if you feel that you need to register with, as far as with Hurricane Nicole, Just remember that this location has been open to us here, to the state and the county, thanks to Mayor Santiago Avila and the City Commissioner James Chisholm. We have this center open Monday through Saturday, I believe, from 8 to 6. And the individuals that can actually assist you with your application updates, SBA, mitigation, they're all located here. At this time right now, I'm going to have from SBA come up, Lori, Dina.
I'll just bring this down a little bit, and I'm not going up there. When there's a disaster, SBA doesn't just help businesses. We also help homeowners and renters as well as nonprofit organizations. Homeowners can borrow up to $200,000 to make repairs to their primary residence, and homeowners and renters can borrow up to $40,000 to replace the contents of their homes, and that includes automobiles, furniture, clothing, anything that was damaged by the hurricanes. The businesses can borrow up to $2 million to make repairs to their buildings, replace inventory, their assets, and small businesses can also apply for disaster loans to provide working capital to help pay those bills that they would have been able to pay if the hurricane hadn't happened. So to cover their financial losses, they can also apply for economic injury disaster loans. The interest rates are very, very low. They are as low as 2.188% for homeowners and renters with terms up to 30 years. The first year is 0% interest, and the first payment doesn't have to be made for up to a year. Now, if you're referred by FEMA, we really, really, really encourage you to complete that disaster loan application because it's part of the process for eligibility for FEMA's other needs program, assistance program. And that could include help with clothing, furniture, that's essential items. But you don't have to accept the disaster loan when you apply. If you're not approved for a disaster loan, you're referred back to FEMA for that other needs assistance program, but you have to complete the disaster loan application to qualify for that program. So the other thing is to know is that you, like I said, you don't have to accept the disaster loan. You have time to make up your mind. If you determine you don't want a disaster loan and then later decide you really do, you can ask for that disaster loan to be reinstated. If you're not approved, you can submit a reconsideration request. There's a lot of reasons why you might not be approved. Maybe you made a mistake on your Social Security number. Read that letter carefully and find out why you weren't approved. And if it's for credit histories, they say it's unsatisfactory credit history, and you have money coming in and you're able to pay your bills, and you believe that you can afford that disaster loan, submit a reconsideration request. You'll need to put some more information, like your credit history. A lot of times people can get approved if SBA has more information. So don't stop your business and you're not approved, and you it could be how you submitted your paperwork. SBDC has a free service that can help you repackage your disaster loan and resubmit it for reconsideration. There's 3 ways to apply. You can apply online at sba.gov. Again, that's sba.gov, and you can also find more information about disaster loans there. You can go to a disaster recovery center or a business recovery center and get one-on-one assistance, and I highly encourage you, if you have any questions, to go to visit the disaster recovery center or business recovery center. You can call 1-800-659-2955 and have an application mailed to you, or if you have any questions while you're completing your disaster loan application, you can ask them also, and also find out what the status of your application is. All that information is on the flyers as far as the website address and the phone numbers. So thanks.
Thank you, Lori, for that. I do want to mention one thing. When she started to provide the 800 number to SBA, in order for you also to continue on or find more information with FEMA, we have our direct number that you can also contact, which is 1-800-621-3362. Aside from that, we have another way of communicating with FEMA is through the online, which is disasterassistance.gov. And also if you have either an iPhone or an Android, you can download the app, and it's FEMA.gov, well, FEMA, the app. And you can actually go in, and with your registration number, you can actually look at what's going on with your information, and if you need to locate a disaster recovery center in the areas that maybe is closer to you if you're working, or close to your home, then it's able to actually give you that information as well. So with that, I want to actually, before we call up our mitigation and NFIP experts, I do want to call up Ezra James. He is a disaster survivor assistance leadership, and these are the people that are actually out there. These teams, they're out in your community. They're the ones knocking on your doors. So I just want to call Mr. James up.
Good evening, everyone. As she previously stated, my name is Ezra James, and I am the group supervisor for Disaster Survivor Assistance. Disaster Survivor Assistance are the groups of individuals who go out into the community. She previously spoke to you about how you can contact FEMA. So of course you can dial the 1-800 number, you can go to disasterassistance.gov, you can use the FEMA app, you can come to the DRC. We are the individuals that knock on your door, go to your businesses and to your faith-based organizations, houses of worship, and community-based organizations in order to provide that touch service to individuals. We do that through the duration of the disaster until we feel that we've touched everyone that we need to touch. We have a mission set of reaching out to the disproportionately impacted segments of the population. So those individuals who would have a social vulnerability or not be able to recover from an incident like other people may be able to recover. So seniors, veterans, low literacy, individuals with limited English proficiency, or some of the individuals that we reach out to ensure equal access and opportunity to the disaster programs that we offer under the Individuals and Households program. So I just want to speak to that. I also want to say that I have staff here tonight. As previously stated, this is a DRC location, which is the Disaster Recovery Center, but they closed at 6. So my staff is actually here to speak to anyone who may need some additional hand-holding or questions about their application for disaster assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Now we want to go ahead and call up our mitigation and NFIP person who's going to actually talk to you in regards to that component. We also want to acknowledge that Mr. Concole from the state NFIP, which is the National Flood Insurance Program, is here. So if there's any questions that is directly from the state, we also have that our person here to assist.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. My voice is, I've been talking too much today, obviously. If I accomplish anything tonight, I want you to, there's a myth out there that says, I don't live in a flood zone, okay? Our maps show everybody is in a flood zone. If you're on the coast, the high risk, the surge comes in, you still have rain and wind. You come inland, you have rivers, creeks, and streams, and then that low risk area, everybody can buy a flood policy through the National Flood Program. There's 60 different companies that sell flood insurance, okay? We have in this county 34,000 flood policies, so somebody's buying it, okay? And we had 5,000 losses, and 2/3 of those have already closed. So the average closed cost is $72,000. So, you know, if you're unfortunate and one of those that gets flooded without flood insurance, let's say you're paying $1,500, $2,000 a year, it takes a lot of years to make up that one loss, okay? So if have any questions, be glad to answer afterwards. Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Volusia, would you like to speak on behalf of the state? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Con Cole. I am the State National Flood Insurance Program Coordinator and the State Floodplain Manager. Our office is in Tallahassee, and we are housed with the Florida Division of Emergency Management. Currently, I am stationed and deployed at the Joint Field Office, which is now in Lake Mary. And our office and our position is we provide support to local communities that participate in the NFIP. Each community has to join the NFIP for their citizens and property owners to be able to purchase flood insurance. And we are the go-between between the local community and FEMA to make sure they have a compliant program. Most of that compliance comes in the form of development and permitting within the special flood hazard areas or the flood zones. So in events and disaster events like this, we are really engaged with the communities to make sure that they understand the permitting requirements, their post-disaster requirements, and when it comes to permitting. One thing that comes up a lot is what's been called in the industry is the FEMA 50% rule. But it's really not a rule. It is a threshold in the definition of substantial damage, which basically means that if your home was damaged and that damage is equal to or greater than the 50% of the market value of that pre-damage condition of that home, then that home may have to be brought into compliance with the current regulations and the current building code. Typically that involves elevating. Sometimes that involves converting a certain portion of the house to be compliant. But all of that takes place at the local level. Every community has a floodplain administrator and or a local building official that manages their floodplain management ordinance and their permitting. So we get engaged with the communities to make sure they have the right assistance and the staffing and assistance from the state and other stakeholders when it comes to the redevelopment, the rebuilding, the recovery as folks are coming in and get repairs done. So as the cities and the counties move into that stage, that's what we're here for. There are very specific state requirements. There's regulations in the Florida Building Code. Then there's also regulations in the local floodplain management ordinance. But all of the decisions are made locally. It's the locals' decision. We're there to support and back them. We're not there to dictate how they do what they do at their local level. But we're there for support. And my position is to make sure everyone's compliant. And then we also support the citizens. We take calls and emails and questions from citizens all the time, developers, surveyors. So we're here as a resource to help the community and help you guys, the citizens, to get back on your feet and get through the recovery process. Because we understand we know it's a long process and sometimes it can be very confusing. And so if there's any questions, anything we can help with, I'm here for questions later.
I do want to acknowledge that we have other components here that are available to answer any questions. We have the private sector. That team actually works directly with the businesses. There was a big Chambers of Commerce meeting here last week, and Ms. Jennifer and Ms. Patricia were able to provide a lot of information on how those businesses that were impacted, how they can receive assistance. Another thing that working with the county and the state that FEMA does also is that we provide assistance with language services. We have, if there's a need for a specific language, we can provide translators and interpreters. And as you see in front, we also have American Sign Language interpreters always available for those that are in need. Aside from that, if there's any questions, we can have you come up to the microphone in the middle, and our team members can actually answer any questions for you.
I have a question. Hi, in Deltona, which we were flooded. We were flooded and the water stayed high in our houses until mid-November. And then the streets stayed flooded where nobody could come in, like for inspection, for insurance or anything, until mid-December. During this time, I applied at FEMA October 5th and applied for the SBA loan and, you know, did everything that we could do, waiting on inspection. My FEMA inspector came out yesterday. So all along, I never could get any information about what could possibly be available to me because everything was on wait until inspection. And so I'm here to get information of what would be available. Now I understand it's just rental assistance and emergency needs, which I'm not needing. But I'm curious about the mitigation. I live in Stone Island. We were flooded excessively, and we found out that it's due to the draining of the waters from other cities, and that's not a common thing, but in natural disasters, that's what they're going to do, and it's going to come right through my neighborhood. And so I have flood insurance, but it still took probably a $40,000, $50,000 loss on everything that flood insurance doesn't cover. Plus, I've been out of my house for 3 months now, and yeah, it's not been good. I want to know, is FEMA going to use some of their funds to possibly elevate our neighborhood or redirect that flood water in some way to help mitigate future flooding that's going to happen? It's still not.
The answer to that is your local communities control what happens. You know, there's 23,000 communities around the country here that communities that participate in a national flood program. So the decision on to redirect or elevate or do what that is, the funds could be available, and so it depends on your local communities as to what action they're going to take going forward. Now, I'm sure that didn't really solve
Can I ask a
the
follow-up
issue.
question?
So,
May I ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
I'm not really sure what you just told us. Are you saying that the funds are available, but the decision will be up to that particular authority, so it's the Deltona Water? Or, and if so, who will we contact? Because I live on Stone Island also.
Yes, so do I.
Who am I directing this question to? Is anybody answering me? I don't know what to talk to.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought it was already you, but you're the one that said it.
No, that's okay. As far as funds, there are available funds. There's non-disaster grant funding, there's local mitigation strategy funding, and that does start at the local level. And our mitigation bureau works with communities all year long, and so we can, before you guys leave, let me get your contact information and your addresses, and I will we'll get in contact with the city of Deltona, because it also involves the county. The communities all participate in a local mitigation strategy with the county, and as projects come aware of need and the scope of these projects, they are put before the LMS committee, and they look at them, and then they apply for grant funding and or disaster funding, depending on the situation. So there are monies out there. There are possible projects that can stem from Ian and from Nicole, but we work locally with the community specifically on that and getting those funding those projects. Those projects, sometimes they're not quick. The grants and the processing and the engineering and all can take years, but it all starts at the local level. And now that, in situations like this, you present a need, we start working with the communities to see what's available out there and what direction we can go to potentially alleviate the problem. And then it can be as simple as drainage projects, stormwater management projects, road improvements. Sometimes there's road elevations. There's a project now that we're looking at in the Keys to elevate some roads. So there's a lot of different avenues and a lot of different ways that we can attack a problem and maybe chip away at it. But there are resources there, and the state works with the local communities. All the federal funding comes through the state first, and then the state works with the communities and distributes it appropriately.
And I have another question that's totally unrelated. So Linda, did you have something else regarding this?
Sorry, I'm so I talked to the emergency management people for Volusia County, and I talked to the people at the city of Deltona. They said that yes, you can apply for individual cases of elevating your particular house. And that takes between 3 and 7 years to have that be an outcome. I'm curious, as a community of houses that were directly flooded, not just due to Ian or the rainfall that came in our area from Ian, it had to do with the diversion of floodwaters from other areas directly onto us. And so that's going to be future plans. I'm sure they're going to do that again because that saved their houses. It was like flood 1,000 houses or flood our 100 houses. So I want to know how I get the ball rolling for people to see us, our community, not me individually in my house where I take an SBA loan and spend $140,000 to elevate my particular house. But if we're going to be the drain for Volusia County, or this part of Volusia County, then we should have some mitigation for our losses. You know, if the government's going to use our property as their drain field, then there should be some sort of mitigation for that. And who do I talk to? Because I talked to emergency management of Volusia County. They said I can do something individually. I want to coordinate my community to be helped for this the future drain field. Who do I talk to?
It starts with me.
Okay.
We can start tonight.
All right.
And yes, you want to look at a holistic approach. Like you said, yes, individuals can apply to raise their individual house, but it doesn't necessarily fix the source of the problem. So,
Right, which, you know, we're talking diverting. It's not like I expect it never to rain in Deltona again. You know?
We'll talk tonight and get the process started.
Well, I don't know if anybody can hear me. I live in Stone Island too, and what you're talking about, we've had, let me stand up a little bit. All this is kind of emotional. We've had lawyers to my home that I'm working on. I've had 4 or 5 of them that say I need to sue the city of Deltona because they did this to me. And that's just what was said to me. And again, I don't know. I don't want to sue anybody. Please, that's not. I'm 65 years old, and I never sued anybody in my life, and I don't want to sue anybody. But what my question is that I'm working on my home on my dime because I haven't heard anything back from FEMA at all. And again, I haven't talked to anybody in this room. Excuse me, I don't know if you can hear me, so I'm not pointing or anything. It's really, I'm kind of ignorant of this whole thing. And all my daughter has helped us. I have a wife that we had to move out. I had to put her in a house here in Deltona. I had to put my daughter and my grandchildren in another place because we couldn't get a big enough place to rent. But what my concern is, and why I'm here, and I'm not upset, I'm at peace with this deal, is why it has taken so long for somebody, and I'm just going to pick on FEMA because you're here, to not say, hey, Mark, we're going to help you, or we're not. All we get back is it's pending. In the meantime, I'm working on the house. I'm spending my money putting the drywall and all that kind of stuff. And as far as what happened to us with the floodwater, I'm going to put our home back together, thinking that this was just once in once in a generation effect. Maybe I'm wrong. Some of the people that have just moved there, that are new, I mean, our home was built in 1992, so this is the first time in 2004, and in 2017 we got a little bit of, and again, I don't mean to be long-winded, I'll shut up, I promise. In 2017, we got the water up to the garage thing, but when this happened, all of a sudden, there was no time. I mean, we lost everything inside the house, and again, I don't want to hug because that stuff can be replaced. The kids are fine, wife is fine, you know, we lost our cars and everything because all of a sudden, there was a little bit of water, and all of a sudden there was 3.5 feet of water inside my home. In just a matter of no time, which is, you know, maybe for another time and place. But what I'd like to do if I could before I leave here, if I could ask somebody's help, I just would like to have some kind of answer of why it is taking so long to, you know, to say yes or no or whatever is going on. And I'll shut up, I promise.
You're okay. I would say we got the DSA representatives here for y'all. The person, if you need any rental assistance, that they can check into your cases and specifically see what the holdup is, and hopefully give you something other than pending. But I'll check with them afterwards, and they can pull up your case. And we have people like me here that if they have any questions about your case, we can answer. Hopefully, give you your exact reason.
Yeah, it's hard when you don't know. I mean, like I said,
Eventually.
I mean, you know, it's just you'd like to have some kind of an answer, is what I'm saying. Yes or no, you can deal with.
Sure. We can look into your case, each one of y'all, if you need to, after this is over, we can pull up your application and hopefully find out specifically why it's taking so long.
And DSA workers are located just outside the door after the event.
Do we have any other questions?
And this maybe should wait for afterwards for the tables, but maybe somebody else has the same question and you can answer it all at one time. What are the criteria to get a FEMA trailer? I have been out of my home since October 2nd. I've only gotten that very first emergency help with housing, and I'm trying to get the paperwork filled out and take care of everything, but also chronic illness. I have a life, I have a house that's destroyed, so it's a little cumbersome to jump through the hoops 2 or 3 times. And thought it would be a lot easier if I had a FEMA trailer, because we have residents from Stone Island and Longwood and Ormond Beach. I'm in Lake Mary. I mean, we're all over the place. And it's hard to work on your home or have anything done when you're displaced so far away. So anyway, I just would like to know how to get one, what the criteria is.
We got direct housing here. Andre, do you want to speak to that?
I love the interaction with the mayor and our teams here.
So yes, just to answer your question about the criteria for direct housing, for homeowners, we are looking at those, and this is again based off of the inspection, the FEMA inspection. So for homeowners, you will have to meet a $12 per square footage of your home.
$12 square foot for what?
I'm sorry?
What, in reference to what? The $12
Damages, worth of damages.
Thank you.
Yes. For renters, from the inspection, the inspector would either have to say it is a major damage or destroyed in order to meet that criteria. Following that, there is an interview that does occur with our FEMA staff, in which they're just basing to see what is the need, if there is still a housing need itself. As of course, we are recovering throughout this entire process, and we just want to ensure that if you are in need of housing, we're able to then move forward with those that are in need of housing.
For clarification,
Yes.
I've already been assessed. The house has no walls, so she said that, it's like, that's already, the drywall's been taken out.
Okay.
So now what? I mean, nothing is happening, and I'm having to appeal. So are you telling me that is the criteria for the trailer, or that's a criteria to get the the $1,000 a month or whatever it is you guys give?
So no, I'm given the criteria as far as there are mobile homes and travel trailers.
Okay.
However, I can look at your specific case to see what exactly occurred throughout that process and hopefully be able to make you eligible if all the criteria is met.
Thank you.
And to follow up on Andre, the state also has a travel trailer program, so it's designed somewhat like a safety net. If you don't qualify for FEMA's program, then you automatically will be eligible to be considered for the state's program. And ours is specifically just RVs and travel trailers. It's not mobile homes or manufactured homes, but it's RVs, basically, like you said, so you can set up on your site, work on your home, be close to your home, and it's in a temporary basis, up to 6 months, with possible extensions if agreed to by the local community. But there is a backup to that with the state program.
All those trailers that are sitting at the fairgrounds, are they yours? They're the state? They belong to the state?
That I don't know. I don't know exactly where our staging areas are.
No. Fairgrounds, that is the state. Just to answer the question, you said the fairgrounds, correct?
Yeah, there's gotta be.
That is actually the state's.
It is ours.
Yeah.
It seems to be a long lag time from the disaster and the inspection, which allows you to actually start the processes. You know, and for that period of time, I don't know, you can't ask a FEMA employee to endanger their lives, and I totally get that. But if there's blanket flood, and there's aerial view that all of these houses are underwater, and that's a direct address, and you can prove you live there, it shouldn't require a physical inspection to start the process. I'm just saying,
Well, I can't speak for FEMA's process, but I can tell you that from our internal meeting yesterday, just to give you an understanding of the scope, under IA, there have been 911,000 approved applications. So that's just the ones that are approved. So there's a vetting process with all the applicants and there's a lot of steps in place. And I understand it's not as quick as we would like, but just to give you an example, there's already been 911,000 applications.
I understand.
So the state and FEMA, we're working as hard as we can, and I will leave here tonight with your contact information so we can move forward.
Hi. So my husband and I are new to this whole thing with FEMA, so I just have a couple of questions. At our house right now, we don't have electricity to run on its own. Our FPL came out and ran a wire from the side of our house to our neighbors. So that's one issue. Then we also, when FEMA came out, we have no heat or AC in the house. And with the wind that happened, we also lost our garage door. So we rigged it so the garage door is at least somewhat closed. So when I went in to look, I see that FEMA gave us $160 some odd and denied us for the garage and didn't say anything about the electricity. So I called the 1-800 number, and she told me that the $160 some odd is to get somebody out to look at our HVAC. Well, that's all fine and well, but what about the electricity? Because our lights are flickering now. Well, they have been, not just now. So I'm not sure like how we're denied for the garage door that blew in. And you give us money, which we're grateful, to get an estimate for the HVAC. But the HVAC may be an issue because we're not running on full power. We're running off the neighbor's house, which we've had code enforcement come out to say that that can't stay like that. So we're kind of running in circles, not so much with FEMA. I'm just not understanding why I'm being told I have to file an appeal for the garage door. So I'm just a little, we're just a little confused on where we're at. Our whole area flooded, but our house did not flood, so the flood insurance doesn't take effect. And when the FEMA guy came out, he even said to my husband, well, are you sure that the water didn't come up this high on the HVAC? And it's kind of like, no, we just said the house did not flood. So he told my husband that we need to get something from, and it's not even on your, when I go in to look, but the guy that you sent out said that we have to get something from our flood insurance that shows that we're not making a claim or we have not made a claim through the flood insurance. But when I talked to the 1-800 number, they said there's nothing in here that says you even need to do that, and she apologized. So again, running in circles, do we need it? Do we not need it? You know, I mean, there's just a lot of things that are inconsistent, and we're not really sure what we're supposed to do here. We called our flood insurance and asked for a letter. We called FPL and said, hey, how much longer? You know, and they're just like 21 days. It's been over 21 days. It's been months. So we're not really sure. You know, we're not really sure what FEMA is planning on covering. You know, if they gave us the money to get an estimate for the HVAC, why didn't you give us a, you know, a paper that says, hey, we need an estimate for a new garage door? So just a lot of mixed.
Sure. There could be several things in play. Without looking at your case, I wouldn't be able to answer your questions, but as referring back to others, we got these DSA agents out here. We can pull up your case and we can look at it and see if there's insurance in play or if it's not. If it's HVAC, you know, and that's our standard processing for HVAC, so that they get a professional to look at the HVAC and you can give us that's just part of the process for that, because we don't have, the FEMA inspectors, they don't, they're not, they look at the overall damage, they don't look at the HVAC and the details of it. That's why we have a service call, so you can send in the estimate.
But is it one estimate? Is it two?
It's one, it's necessary, it's just one. Some people send in more than one, but all it's needed is one estimate. With an appeal letter, it's just part of the process, signing an appeal letter, that's just the process. But, I mean, we'd have to look at your case and specifically see exactly what's going on with that. So I wouldn't be able to answer exactly, I'm just answering in vague, in general. And, but we got the DSA agent, it's gonna be out there afterwards, and we can look at your case and give you exact answers.
How long is our case open? And the reason I ask that is because if FPL does not come out and fix the electric, and the electric in the house, like I said, is flickering, then the HVAC isn't going to work correctly. And then if we have to file because of the electric from the storm, how long do we have? Like, these are just things that we don't have answers to.
So it could be a possibility the electric got hit by wind. If you have homeowner insurance, your homeowner's insurance maybe have a play in that where...
No, they don't, no.
No, okay, but again, going back to, we need to look at your case specifically and see exactly, when we look up your case to see what's going on exactly. So we give you for sure answers. So afterwards, we'll have the DSA agents out there and they can pull up your case and they can tell you exactly what's going on with your case. You're welcome.
Do you want to come up here, Ezra, and answer some questions?
I want to piggyback off of that just for a moment. And normally I don't speak, but I think that this may add some help to the overall situation. First things first, FEMA is an essential needs grant program, and there are going to be things that under this essential needs grant program we're just not going to cover. You spoke to a garage. Let me ask you one question. Is that garage detached? So that's, to us, that's considered an apparent structure, so it's not connected to the overall household.
No, it's connected to the house.
So it's connected to the house, so it's not apparent from the overall structure, it's not disconnected.
No.
Okay, well then there may be some assistance because of the access. But going back to the overarching, and I'm gonna keep it as simple as possible from an explanation. This is something that I do when I'm in the field talking to disaster survivors, when I'm trying to explain our essential needs grant program. So Oliver spoke to the fact that inspectors come out to the house. First of all, they are third-party individuals so that there's no conflict of interest to us, and that they can give a non-biased opinion about disaster-related damages. So that makes sure that it's not in-house. They're giving their opinion from a professional perspective so that we can utilize that information in order to make eligibility determinations. But the way we look at a home is that we look at the overarching home. So let's say, for instance, you have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath structure, and it has a living room, a den, a dining area, a breakfast nook, and 2 bathrooms inside of the home. Let's say you have a first and second floor, and on the first floor you have a restroom, a dining area, a kitchen, a living space, all on that first floor, and maybe one of the bedrooms. If all 3 of the bedrooms are occupied, then we may be able to give you assistance with that bedroom that's on the first floor if flood comes in. If there's damage to that restroom on the first floor, we may be able to assist you if the damages are pursuant and would stop the restroom on the second floor from being able to work. But if the restroom on the second floor works, then you have at least one restroom in your household that's operational, and we might not give you assistance for that restroom. But we may be able to come back and give you assistance with the kitchen, potentially the dining area where you may be able to eat. And the reason why I like to explain that to individuals is because as long as everything in the household is working, and that takes into consideration all of the phases of construction from roof, foundation, HVAC, heating, water, plumbing, and there's a place for everyone in the household to lay their head, as well as one working bathroom, one kitchen, one living area, then we consider you to be somewhat suitably housed. If there's anything that goes outside of that, then you can of course apply for potential assistance for those things. So it's an essential needs grant program, and we look at the overarching household perspective of it. And the other thing that I want to talk to is the insurance piece. We do not duplicate benefits as it pertains to insurance. So if you have insurance that may be considered to be a covered issue with something that is disaster related, then we have to know what your insurance company is going to do first before we can make any type of eligibility determination or any type of disaster assistance. So sometimes the delay is that you file a claim with your insurance, you do an application for disaster assistance, we're waiting on you to submit the documentation that will prove the loss or what that claim is going to be adjusted to, so that we then can make a determination, because we can't duplicate benefits. So if your insurance company gives you more from your claim than what we would give you from our FEMA verified losses, then we're going to make you ineligible based on the fact that we feel like you were sufficiently assisted through your insurance company. If that's not going to be the case, then we have to wait until you can submit that documentation to us proving that, so that there is no duplication of benefits. And to that degree, we may be able to offer you some level of assistance once we get the information. Now, you asked the question about how long is your application open? 18 months. We make individuals able to come back and request assistance from FEMA specifically for up to 18 months. That's how long we open the disaster for financial assistance. Specifically to individuals who have insurance, we give you 12 months to submit that insurance documentation. So from the time the disaster is declared, 12 months after that fact, you have that much time to go to your insurance, make that claim, for them to adjust it, for them to give you what they're going to pay you out. And then after that, you can submit that documentation to us if it is not enough in order to bring you back to that essential place that you need to be in order to make your home livable. And to that degree, we will consider it for some potential assistance as long as it does not duplicate benefits with what we have. Hopefully that kind of explains, and I went kind of fast, but hopefully that helps individuals understand a little bit better.
And I want to piggyback this with one thing when Ezra was talking about the 18 months. But now, if you got a case like they said you have to appeal, you have 60 days from that date of the letter to appeal. If it goes over 60 days, it may be like an issue where you're waiting on a contractor. You can just explain with the appeal letter that, you know, we're having a delay with the contractor coming out there, something like that. So, but the standard time is 60 days from the date of the decision letter to appeal.
And I want to piggyback a little bit about the insurance. If anybody's waiting for their insurance to settle before they apply for a disaster loan, you do not have to wait for your insurance to settle to apply for a disaster loan. If you receive the disaster loan before your insurance settles, whatever the insurance covers will pay down the loan, and whatever it doesn't will be the balance of the loan going forward.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and close up so we can have you actually meet with our disaster survivor assistants that are outside. If you do have any other questions, quickly, I can go ahead and have our experts here answer. Do you have?
On the news tonight at 5 o'clock, I don't know whether Governor DeSantis was on, and he's now has $100 million for Volusia County, 37.6 million for the beaches, $50 million for private homeowners, residencies that have erosion problems. That is my problem. I'm fortunate I have a house to live in, but I also applied to FEMA with Ian. I was denied. I was told by the city to apply again with Nicole, because now if I have another hurricane, I will not have a house. And then that's the city's problem, because I have done my due diligence on trying to get this rectified of the erosion. It's a city lake, which the shoreline eroded, and then started eroding my property. And I told my neighbor to file. She filed the next day. 3 days later, FEMA was after her house, and so I walked up to her house and said, "Am I on your list?" And he said no, and continued on his list. He was 3 houses away. He looked up my name, he saw the name, but since he wasn't on the list, he didn't come to my house.
On that, that's FEMA, when they send out the inspector, they have a compact, they have a certain amount of houses they have to address. You may be next door, they have to go by the list that they got. But eventually you will get an inspector that comes out there.
I understand that, but in the day of the computer, say the street name, can't the computer look, cross-reference?
No, sir, like I said, they downloaded they give specifically certain houses to look at on their list. They can't, that's all they have is on their list. They don't have connections with everybody, and it's gotta be an organized thing where there's so many inspectors out there, and each one has so many houses downloaded onto their pad, and they have to do what's on their pad. They just can't go.
Yes, I
We understand what you're
that.
saying, but the point is, and I don't know if there's anybody to do anything about it, is that there's duplication and this inefficiency. I even offered my FEMA guy, he said, I need to get a hold of so-and-so. And I said, well, okay, I can get in touch with her. I said, tell me all the people on your list, and I'll tell them, we can meet you or wherever. Never heard from the guy. I mean, there was just so much waste and so much abuse, and I won't even go into it, but yeah, if I didn't bother talking to anybody, and just like this gentleman now is trying to bring it up, but I don't know who to talk to that actually would have the ability to do something about doing a better job of the resources that we have. It would make everything faster for all of us. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you, but I think that was the point.
But my other question is, DeSantis said February 1st is when people with erosion damage can apply. Does that mean I have to do another FEMA? Or who would I contact?
That may be a public assistance with your county, that the funds are going through the county on those things.
Which is
The county emergency management
7
agency.
year for the individual assistance
Okay.
for mitigation.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, you said
7.
All right, folks, I want to thank every single one of you for coming out today. Trust me when I tell you that we're trying to do our best that we can. City of Deltona, we reached out to our senator, and through his connections, we got FEMA to come, SBA, and we're very grateful that they're here. They're here to answer questions. You probably have a lot more questions. They're here. Ask those questions. They're not silly questions. They're important. So they're here to answer them. So again, thank you all for coming out. They're going to be out there in the tables answering more questions and try to help out the community. So you all have a good night. Thank you.